So what do you do if you're Don Jr. and you've now been compelled to testify in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case where a judge has already found you liable for engaging in business practices constituting persistent fraud, and now there is a trial over damages, over disgorgement, and over other remedial measures to ban you from doing further business in the state of New York. What do you do? Well, naturally, if you're Don Jr. or a MAGA Republican, you go on the right-wing extremist propaganda show hosted by Steve Bannon to whine about your cabin and the LLC ownership of your cabin. You know, real American problems. We all have LLCs with cabins all over the place that we've engaged in persistent fraud, that are the recipients of those fraudulent practices as decided by a judge. That's naturally what all Americans have to deal with.
Don Jr., also, because this confusion, I mean, MSNBC is dancing on your guys' grave. Did they also take the ability for the Trump organization to operate in New York? Did they take your business license? Because you can't really parse what the truth is with these people. What actually happened? What did they do besides the money they're coming after? What about your business license?
Dissolution. It seems the judge isn't exactly sure what that meant based on the hearings today, even our own lawyers. And, you know, before I got more into the political game, I did real estate for 25 years, and I've never even heard of anything like this. And that's what's crazy. You can talk with a team of very sophisticated lawyers, and they're like, we don't know because it doesn't make any sense. We've never seen any of this before. But yes, they are in effect trying to do that. If you read the letter of the law, theoretically, my cabin in upstate New York, because it's owned in an LLC, that is a corporation. And therefore, because I'm a part of it somehow, that has to be disbanded. And so then what or who actually owns my cabin at this point? It's that this has been done in such a roughshod manner. No one even knows what is real or what isn't. No one can make any sense of it. And it seems like, based on that, everything we've even heard today from the hearings today, that even the judge himself isn't quite sure what he did. But, you know, I guess he's stuck into Trump. So that's okay. And it doesn't really matter. They'll figure it out later.
Well, that's exactly what Don Jr. did. And again, he's just whining and spreading lies. But ultimately, here's the thing. Don Jr. is going to now have to testify. Don Jr. is testifying, and the truth will come out. And the truth is, Don Jr. doesn't know what the heck he is talking about, or he does know and wants to cover it up. One or the other, but this was Don Jr. at his deposition in connection with the New York Attorney General civil fraud case, where he was asked, can you tell me what you know about generally accepted accounting principles? Because you're supposed to be this real estate maven. You're supposed to be really smart, Don Jr., and you want to lecture people about accounting principles and real estate and all these things. So can you maybe describe one of the most fundamental principles in accounting? But setting aside even that it's a fundamental principle in accounting, the Trump Organization Statement of Financial Conditions stated that they were done in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So I'm sure, Don Jr., you know about this. Here, play the clip.
Do you have any familiarity with an acronym GAAP, G-A-A-P?
Generally accepted accounting principles, yes.
Okay. How did you become familiar with that acronym?
Probably in Accounting 101 at Wharton.
Okay. What do they teach you about generally accepted accounting principles in Wharton?
Well, I'm not an accountant, but that they are generally accepted.
Anything else?
That's pretty much what I remember from Accounting 101. So.
Have you told me everything you know about GAAP?
Basically. I'm sure I could come up with some creative stuff to kill time, but I'd be doing neither of us a favor in terms of educating ourselves.
Oh, you don't know about this. Here's Don Jr. in another interview, and you see that he's getting very, very nervous, folks, leading up to the testimony he's now giving. And here Don Jr. is, first he spreads these conspiracies and spread these lies. And then he, again, lies more and says they want to throw Trump in jail for 1,000 years and or the death penalty. And then they just kind of start laughing together. Here, play this clip.
Going to get on a stand And it's like, oh, well, no, that's great. He's a perfectly credible witness. I mean, this is what we're up against. Again, I think the people understand that. They see what Joe Biden's doing. You see the checks. You see the wire transfers. You wonder why the grandchildren are getting checks from the Chinese government. Those are all reasonable questions, and yet no one asks them. Our mainstream media, the people in D.C., unwilling to ask it, but they want to throw Trump in jail for 1,000 years and or the death penalty. It truly sick stuff, but this is why we fight.
Don Jr. never holds back. Really good having you on, Don. Thank you so much.
Again, it's just so bizarre. Now let me show you New York Attorney General Letitia James. It's a video that she made, and I appreciate that she did this video because with all of the disinformation that's being spread by Donald Trump and all of the people he has go out in the press and lie, I think this is what New York Attorney General Letitia James has to do. She's got to describe what's going on in very kind of clear terms. And so for all of the questions where Don Jr.'s like, we don't know what this is about, and Steve Bannon's like, what's this about? This is New York Attorney General Letitia James making it very clear the way we try to do it on the MeidasTouch Network. Play this clip.
We just concluded the 20th day of our trial against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and other defendants. This morning, we heard testimony from a witness who was an underwriter at the insurance company Zurich North America. The Trump Organization was one of her clients. She testified that Donald Trump's statements of financial condition, which the judge ruled were fraudulent, were material to the decision to take on the Trump Organization as a client. So were misrepresentations made to her by defendant Alan Weisselberg when the Trump Organization was looking for coverage. As a result, the defendants got a better deal than they should have, meaning the Trumps got real financial benefits from providing their fraudulent statements. The truth of our case is clear, and the defendants are willfully choosing to ignore it. But as everyone knows, the truth always comes out in the end.
So, take that very clear explanation given by New York Attorney General Letitia James, fact-based, evidence-based, based on witness testimony, undisputed witness testimony. Okay, the insurance company Zurich, a third party, said they relied on statements of financial condition and other things that were lies. That's what a third party said, that they were relying on fraudulent representations, and they would not have made the deals they did had the fraudulent representations not been made. So compare New York Attorney General Letitia James. This is something that our editor-in-chief at MeidasTouch.com, Ron Filipkowski, prepared. It's a short montage of Don Jr. over the past couple of days, losing his mind before our eyes on his show, and it's relatively short. And by the way, shout out to those folks, the editorial team at MeidasTouch.com, led by Ron Filipkowski. And so if you want to help grow this independent media platform, and you've seen some of the breaking news stories that we have, including the one that led to Donald Trump being found in violation of his gag order, and then Donald Trump attacked us, and then Don Jr. attacked us at the MeidasTouch Network, just go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Now here is the footage of Don Jr. compiled by Ron Filipkowski. Play the clip.
The only thing that changes is, depending on what letter is behind your name, R or D, whether there's actually enforcement or not. And I quote, tried to slow down, probably has more on them, and they're using that and wielding that power to control these clowns. New York Times to create an article about us and Russia collusion to create the vicious cycle that went on for 5 years, and then, quote, stand with the people of Palestine. I also don't think Hamas is a fan of the sex workers, but, what do I know? Obama, but it was just missing context. In other words, it seems like they didn't go all in on the fact check, and while it's clearly a joke in the things of Instagram, I'm pretty sure I've never called Kim Keith Instagram about Mike Johnson, other than, wait for it, folks, who refused to condemn the January 6th, what they call an insurrection, I say, protest, the first unarmed insurrection, acknowledged that, quote, Biden's re-election priority. But that doesn't stop Mitch McConnell and others in Washington, D.C. from saying it's the #1 issue. Now, I understand Mitch has probably never met an actual Republican, the smartest American youth has to offer. Saying, well, listen, we want them, but we think we're going to be the exception. You think it's going to be different here this time? People in jail for tweeting the wrong pronouns. Mean tweets are illegal in London.
And here, just showing you what they're talking about in the right-wing echo chamber, even Don Jr. here, when asked this question by Newsmax about Michelle Obama running for president, he's just like, what are you talking about? Play the clip.
Behind the Golden Gate, so to speak, in Trump world, is there any discussion on Michelle Obama being the Democrat nominee?
Not really.
Well, we will report more about Don Jr.'s testimony, but a terrified Don Jr. losing it all, whining on the Steve Bannon show. If there's anything that defines MAGA like that, there you have it, folks. Have a great one. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support, and check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.